But first, let us give Holly Holm her due. Because
hey,
DC, last Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago, we said y'all must have forgot as far as Israel Adesanya is concerned. This Saturday, Holly Holm turned back the clock. Holly Holm turned back the clock, I should say, because Holly Holm, what she did on Saturday against Irene Aldana, someone who, let's be honest, the UFC was trying to showcase Irene Aldana. And there's nothing wrong with that. Fresh face, beat Caitlin Vieira, knocked her out in December, new contender, new opponent for Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes has pretty much cleaned out that 135-pound division. This was a big opportunity to use Holly Holm as a stepping stone. About to be 39, 60 pro fights, boxing, kickboxing, MMA. You know, she's had some great days, but maybe those days are behind her. And what does she do? She puts on her best performance since the Ronda Rousey fight back in 2015. DC, she looked incredible. Not only was she aggressive, not only was she on point, not only did she have the right game plan, a career high 6 takedowns. Unbelievable.
Those takedowns, you know, those takedowns get you excited, right? For me,
They
especially
do.
for me, the takedowns get me excited. But when you look at this fight, right, you think, well, like I said, Taylor's oldest time. You have the up-and-coming prospect that's trying to get to the title fight. How do you make them real? You stick them in there with a former champion that's kind of on the decline, and you think that that's the way to get that person over. But Holly must not have got the memo. Holly looked as good as she's looked in a really long time. And I watched her on her bicycle as she normally fights, right? She gets on her bike, she's moving around the octagon on the perimeter, and she's kind of a sniper. As you attack, she counters you and she makes you look bad. Well, on Saturday, when she was circling, she got Irene Aldana to follow her, opposed to cutting her off. That's why you kept seeing that big circle around the octagon the whole time, because Aldana never closed the door, right? It's like you're going off to the left. If you're Holly and you're circling to your left, for Aldana to shut that door, she's got to take a right step to try to line Holly up. She never did that. So they just kept making a big circle around the octagon, and every time Holly got to her spot, every time she felt comfortable, she would explode with a combination, and she was landing these left hands over and over and just really piecing her apart. And then when Aldana started to believe that this is going to be a stand-up battle and she had a chance, Holly starts to mix in the Izzy-style wrestling. It was beautiful, dog. I've never seen Holly Holm wrestle so much and wrestle so effectively, and just really looked as though it was a different class of fighter between her and Aldana. And watching that fight on Saturday, for as good as Aldana has looked, you don't think that there's much she would be able to do to change that result if these two were to fight and the fight played out as it did, because Holly put it on her, man. She worked her over from start to finish. It was never close. There was never a doubt in your mind as to who was going to win that fight.
I get, like, when Connor does his fight, when John, but Jan Blachowicz calling you out, was there a part of you last week that was like, you know what, youngster, new champ, maybe I just remind you a thing or two? Was there any part of you? Come on.
You know, honestly,
get off
man,
the couch. He said, get off the couch.
No, get your fat off the couch. Don't try to, the low-hanging fruit, they always take it, right? It's right there. Let's call DC fat, you know? Look, like I said, man, for about 20 minutes, for about 20 minutes, I was like, you know what? I can actually make this title fight happen, because the reality is I can, right? Like, I didn't lose that belt. I walked away from it. Maybe I should go down and beat this dude and put him in his place for about 20 seconds. Then I thought about the weight cut and training to fight and all that other stuff. So he kind of dodged a bullet. You know, Jan Blachowicz dodged a bullet, because the reality is I like, you know, hey, all, you know, hands off, champ, hands off. But you don't want to fight that guy, man. That guy, the other guy is not nice. You know, we've seen him put it on a lot of people, also including a guy that, you know, the reason that Jan's mad at me. You know, I beat that. I put it on Alex. So it is what it is.
I mean, listen, I'll just say, when I saw
what was up with Jan, bro? Like, but that was kind of crazy, right? Like, I gave him so many compliments. I made a video of him.
You bet on him,
man. If everybody's so mad, right? The moment you say something negative, but boy, when you're praising them and you're showering them, they want to retweet and they want it to, oh, you're a great guy. But the moment you say something that they don't agree with, boy, they're sensitive. They all want to get upset.
Hey, welcome to the last 15 years of my life. You could glow about these people all day long. You say one negative thing, you get a call, you're this, you're that. I mean, geez, Louise, where were you when I was saying 98% of the positive things?
That's crazy, man. Dudes got to chill. Dudes really need to chill. Because the reality is, for Jan Blachowicz, we help him. We help, right? Us talking about his victory and how impressive he looks, or getting eyes on that. Because guess what? I was watching Jan Blachowicz and his tweet activity. It's never been higher than when he came at me.
Yeah.
And then when I responded to him. So his tweet activity was through the roof in those interactions. So it helps him. But the reality is, it's like, what's the payoff? You come at a guy like me, right? What's the payoff? You don't start rivalries when there's no payoff. And the payoff for him would be him and I fighting.
It's Holly Holm by unanimous decision, 50-45 times 2. Dissenting judge, 50-44. Dominant performance. She mixed it up well. A lot of people say this was her best effort in years. The hunger and the desire still burns for Holly Holm. I know a lot of people in Mexico and beyond certainly expected maybe a little bit more in terms of adjustments mid-fight from Irene Aldana, but you're the expert, kid. Talk us through the main event that happened about 12 hours ago.
I really nailed that prediction, huh? Got it. No. Yeah, I picked Aldana. Totally got that one wrong. She just wasn't ready. And you know, I think you said the key word there, adjustment. Aldana just never was able to make the proper adjustment against Holly Holm, who kept circling to her left repeatedly. And she was doing a great job of any time Aldana just wanted to take that straight direct route to try to land anything of a combination. She was disrupting that forward progression by Aldana with a side kick repeatedly, and I thought it was a brilliant strategy. She was mixing things up with her takedowns as well, which I think threw Aldana off as well. Holly utilizing her strength, utilizing her conditioning to just, you know, I thought deliver a solid performance. I thought, you know, when you look at the experience difference between Holm and Aldana, I thought that Holly Holm finally kind of delivered a performance where she did what she was supposed to do. She went out there, I thought outpointed her, did a great job, didn't really take a whole lot of damage herself, and, you know, just won that 50-45 solid. I don't know if it was a 50-44. It was close when she got that mount there and landed some, you know, a couple shots, but some of those shots didn't really land for me. They were saying that there were some big elbows, but the elbows never really landed. So I'm not sure I would have given her a 10-8 necessarily, but it was close, but certainly a 50-45 for Holly Holm.
Your comments dovetail with what she said in her post-fight interview in terms of her performances not always lining up with the work that she has put in prior. She's deflective in terms of giving the credit to her coaches, and they obviously had a game plan, and she executed. She mixed it up, had a takedown in every round, at least going into the fifth, they said on broadcast. And you also talked about her conditioning and her cardiovascular strength. Barely breathing going back to the stool after round 4, so no surprise that she was able to sustain that output deep into the 5th round. And her most violent moments in the fight were late in the fight when she felt like she was absolutely in no danger of anything coming back from Irene Aldana.
So now that Dana has answered that question, you can see where that's a very compelling match, right? Zombie versus Max needs to happen. I predict for you if Zombie versus Max does happen, they'll find some way, somehow, somewhere along the line to do it. But Zombie versus Volkanovski is a totally different match. And the same thing is said with Ortega, right? Ortega versus Zombie is totally different than Ortega versus Volkanovski. Volkanovski is just one of these unique bodies. He's one of these unique athletes. Guy used to play rugby and weigh 211 pounds. Now he does MMA at 145 pounds. It's a very unique feel. And I like the idea of Zombie going in with Volkanovski. There's also politics behind it. As good as Zombie is, and the fact that he's from South Korea and as excited as they are about him, look, if Zombie has Wei Lee type skills, then let's get Zombie Wei Lee type opportunities and see how far he can run with it. The other side of the coin, if you want to talk about popularity and cult followings, don't overlook Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega is a very big deal in the fight world, and particularly in North America. He brings a cult-like fight with him too. So here would be my question, and here would be my proposition. If the winner of this fight draws into Volkanovski, let's also agree that the loser of this fight draws into Max. That would make a lot of sense for me. It really would, particularly if this little plan would work out. If Ortega wins and goes against Volk, Zombie and Max got business. Zombie and Max have to figure that out somewhere. It doesn't have to be for a championship. It needs to be a main event. It needs to be a big fight, and those guys need to get together.